Housing advocates in Ohio believe that by allowing squatters to stay in homes that they do not own, they will help prevent homelessness. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today. It's coming out of the state of Ohio. Now, Ohio, like many other states, is working on passing laws that basically take away the rights that squatters have to take over other people's properties. Okay, so basically in a lot of states there are laws on the books that make a landlord have to go through the civil eviction process if they want to remove somebody who is claiming to be a tenant. Regardless of the evidence that you present to the police refuse to do anything and demand that you go through the civil eviction process. Okay, and now the civil eviction process is slow and it's expensive, and that's the main reason why we shouldn't have to go through it. We shouldn't have to be forced to go through the eviction process for people who are literally criminals, who are trespassing, committing fraud, breaking and entering, committing property damage, etc. There's a ton of laws on the books for these sort of people, but the police refuse to enforce them because they don't want to get caught up, okay? And I understand. I'm a law enforcement officer myself. We can only do what our bosses, which is the city officials or government officials, allow us to do. But that has caused a huge problem when it comes to property rights. It's caused the issue where there are landlords who their properties are essentially stolen from them, and the only way they can get those people up out of their property is by paying them to leave. It's an extortion scheme, and I don't like reading about these sort of schemes because these people, they are professionals and they deserve to go to jail. They deserve to go to prison for committing the crimes that they're committing. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Do you think that it's a good idea to change these laws so that landlords can immediately remove these squatters from their properties? Like I just covered a story recently about other states that have already passed these laws, right? And you know what? High profile stories that have come out recently, they really are the catalyst behind why we're seeing so many changes in these laws. So even though it was bad for that individual landlord, I am glad that the story came out, because otherwise, we wouldn't be seeing this going on throughout the entire country. Now, obviously, the tenant advocates, the far left-wing crazies, they don't see this as a problem. As I mentioned before, they think that we're just making this up, that this isn't a problem at all. We're just right-wing conspiracy theory, and they're saying stuff like, hey, if we take away these squatters' rights, the homelessness will explode. That's a ridiculous argument, okay? It's a dumb argument, in fact, and it's just really trying to scare people into allowing this nonsense to continue. There's already provisions of the law that will allow you to stop a landlord who has bad intent when they try to use the law. So, you know what? The only thing we need to do is make sure that everyone has their property rights, okay? Make sure we maintain people's property rights, because if you don't have the right to exclude people from your property who don't live there, who have no right to be there, well, you don't have any property rights at all. So anyway, let me get into this article, tell you what's going on in Ohio. This article is coming from the OhioCapitalJournal.com, and it says, Ohio lawmakers introduce a bill to fight squatters taking over homes. Housing advocates fear unintended consequences. Yeah, whatever, okay? There aren't going to be the unintended consequences you think about, because here's the problem. And this is what I mention when I talk about these sort of laws, okay? 99.9% of all landlords out there are doing everything right. They're following the laws. They are treating their tenants with respect. They are, just keeping their properties well maintained, etc., okay? 99.9% of them. And there is a very, very small portion of landlords who are not obeying the law and not doing things correctly. And so you create these laws in order to, go after that minuscule number, like imagine there's 1,000 landlords and we've got 5 bad ones in the whole city. Well, we're going to create this huge law to go after those 5 bad ones, right? And then the other 995 landlords now have to jump through all these hoops, have to, go out of their way to suffer the ultimate consequences because you were trying to get those 5 bad guys. 995 other people now have to suffer. That's dumb, okay? Instead, you target those 5 specifically, okay? There's already laws on the books to target those bad landlords, the bad actors. But anyway, let's see what this article says. Ohio lawmakers are trying to protect homeowners from squatters, people trying to claim rights over someone else's residence. However, housing advocates worry that the proposed legislation will have unintended consequences that could hurt individuals facing homelessness. Yeah, they always try to push this homelessness garbage onto people, okay? Listen, if somebody breaks into your house, has no right to be there, has no lease, and they're a squatter, I don't give a darn if they end up homeless. That's their problem. Maybe they should go get a job and stop trying to steal from other people. In the state, property owners have to serve squatters eviction notices and then take them to court to kick them out. The police department can only arrest people if they have warrants. If they waive a lease in front of law enforcement, even if it's a false lease, it puts law enforcement in a position where they essentially have to view it as a civil matter, said Representative Jeff LaRay, a Republican from Violet Township, said. This means you'd have to go through the entire judicial process to have somebody removed from a house that you own and you pay a mortgage on. LaRay and State Representative Jay Edwards, a Republican from Nelsonville, introduced House Bill 478 to close a loophole, creating an expedited way to get trespassers out. We want to make sure that these homeowners don't have to go through the expense and the process of gaining control of what's rightfully theirs, LaRay said. And that's a very good point. And a lot of people, they think, okay, well, this can only affect landlords. This is only going to affect landlords. Not true at all. You could be out of town for a couple of weeks, come home, right? Somebody's living up in your property, holding a lease. Look, I got a lease. The property owner made me sign it, so you have to evict me. No, absolutely not. You're a trespasser, and the police should be able to remove you immediately, okay? There should be no questions. I mean, it's pretty obvious that you didn't ask them. I could sign a sworn affidavit, and remember that perjury is a crime. So if a landlord signs a sworn affidavit swearing that this person is not a tenant, and then the police remove that person, and then they later find out that the landlord was lying, they could arrest the landlord for lying to the police, making a false statement, okay, providing false information. They already have these laws on the books. So like I said, there's already a means to make sure that these landlords, they stay in check. The bill outlines the circumstances where a county sheriff can and can't intervene, such as law enforcement can't remove a member of the record owner's immediate family. It's important we protect the rights of our home and property owners, Edwards said. This legislation will provide a clear and expedient way for owners to have squatters removed from their properties. The bill also designates squatting as a first-degree misdemeanor. If the individual causes more than $5,000 in damages to the property, the penalty will increase to a fourth-degree felony. And I want you to keep in mind what the purpose behind these laws is and enforcement of these laws, and basically of enforcement of all laws. It is to discourage the action, to minimize the action. You'll never completely stop people from wanting to squat in other people's properties. It's never going to happen, okay? There's always going to be cases no matter what laws are passed. However, you're going to discourage a lot of the bad actors from even considering it if they have in their mind, okay, I could actually go to jail. I could face real jail time for doing it, okay? So let's say that 9 out of 10 of the people who used to be squatters and would have done squatting before, they say, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. Well, you've made a huge reduction in the number of crimes committed. And then for those, that 10% who are still committing the crime, well, they can face the consequences in jail. That's the way I see it, okay? So, yeah, these laws, they have a very important purpose, but by them not being on the books, by giving these people all these rights and making you have to go through the eviction process and there being no criminal charges pressed against them at all, no punishment at all for the crime they're committing, the only thing it does is it encourages more people to want to commit it. Okay, so yeah, I'm in support of all of these laws coming up throughout the entire country. I hope that we see more of this, okay, specifically here in Omaha where I live.